Hey guys, I'm Kayla,
And I'm Kayle.
and Tale of Two Dead Girls is fucking back!
We're back, bitches!
Yes, we are so excited to start this up again, continue it. If you have noticed, we have a different co-host, which is Kayle. Makaela, she's working on her own little business now, so she is no longer with Tale of Two Dead Girls. But that's okay. Go support her. We put her link and everything in the Instagram. But yeah, we're back and we're not done here. Tale of Two Dead Girls is standing strong and we're continuing, and we got a new co-host, and Kayle is going to be with us, and she's going to bring all the spooky stories.
I'm so excited.
It's gonna be great.
Yes, please go support Makaela. I was a huge fan of this podcast before I became a host, and she made me super cute earrings. They're little bunnies and rainbows, and I love them. She's amazing, and I loved this podcast before I became a co-host, so I'm just like fangirling that I'm even part of this.
Yeah, that's so it's so neat, and like it's just really cool to like know that you were like you wrote into us, and now you're like in it. You're like in the podcast. Yep. You're talking. You're here.
I know. I'm what, episode 5?
I think so. Yeah, it was story? The Betty
My sleep paralysis.
Yeah, so we actually put that in like a normal episode. Like we added your email in like a normal episode, so it wasn't in like a morbid mini. It was like an actual episode.
Yeah, you're right.
So yeah, go check that out. It's at the end of the episode. If you want to just skip it and hear her, her story, you can do that. But yeah, so me and Kayle know each other. I feel like you might tell the story better because we actually met in person, and there was a time where I forgot.
Kayla, I was literally saving this for you because I did not know if you remembered me. I was literally going to be like, I actually have a surprise. I met you one time.
No, yeah, I totally remember now because of, what was it, on Twitter, where I was like, oh my god, I want to meet you so bad. And you were like, wait, but we have met. I was like, wait, what?
I forgot about that. Wow. Yeah, I remember because I was at Sound and Fury and Cody was there and Cody knew you.
So yes. We met,
and I don't think I said a single word to you because I was like, I don't think she knows me.
Wait, are you sure we didn't say? No, I'm pretty sure we talked.
I don't think we talked.
Are you sure? I don't
may
remember.
Have said like hi awkwardly, but I don't think so.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I didn't even go to that show. Like I just went there to hang out with
like
Cody.
Outside the barrier.
Yeah. I was like, Cody, I want to see you. So, hey Cody, you're not listening to this because you don't listen to Tale of Two Dead Girls, but hi. Thank you for
fake friend.
Thank you for knowing Kayle and like me, and then we like met each other, and then
Yep.
So yeah, that's that. I think we also just had each other on Instagram either before that or after that. I can't remember, but yeah,
pretty much just followed each other on social media, and then I think there was a time when you were like talking about wanting to come to Utah, and I was like, oh my gosh, we gotta hang out. And then we just started texting.
Yeah, so go ahead and like just tell us about you, what's up with you, what do you do, just so people who don't follow us on Instagram, will know a little bit about you.
For sure. So my name is Makaela, but I just go by Kayle. It's just been my nickname forever since I was like a little kid. It's spelled Kayle, so a lot of people think it's Kayla or Kayle for some reason, so I just wanted to make sure everybody knows that I'm Kayle. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. I grew up in Utah, but in a small town about 3 hours away, and I moved to Salt Lake in July of 2017. I just have a lot of friends here. I have a great job. I work at I work for Comcast. No hate, please, if you hate Comcast. um, it's always scary saying that because some people either hate it or some people love it. Well, I have a dog. Her name is Maybell. She is going on 13.
Oh my
I've had her
gosh.
since I was 12. I know. I live with my boyfriend, and we've been together almost 2 years, but we've known each other for like 5 years coming up. We've been we went on one date, and then we were friends, and then we were like always secretly in love with each other.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I know.
I didn't know that.
um, yeah, but I go to the gym. I draw. Um, I'm I love music. Like I go to concerts and shows and stuff all the time. Um, yeah, that's pretty much a little bit about me. I'm a simple gal.
Yeah. So, in Utah, she also sent us that story, or I don't even know what it like if it was a story. I can't remember, but it was just that thing with like that girl, her grave, and it has like six
Oh
six six
yeah.
on it or whatever in Utah. That's like a thing in Utah.
Yeah, so at the Salt Lake City Cemetery, there's a grave, and it says Lily E. Gray, victim of the beast 666.
That's scary
And
as fuck.
yeah, so like there's like no solid information on why it says that. Like there's like three different theories. The first one is that her husband was just like a jokester and just did it. The second one is like he hated her. And the third one is that he was crazy and thought that the government and aliens killed her.
Oh
So
my god.
there's like three sides of the spectrum for this guy, and nobody really knows the actual truth behind why it says that. But people go there and visit all the time. Like there's always little trinkets and like pennies and just like weird stuff, like packs of cigarettes. Like there's just tons of stuff that people leave at her grave constantly.
Wow, we need to like interview him. Can we interview him?
I'm pretty sure he's dead.
Oh, he's dead? Wait, when was that?
I know that it was like a long time ago, but I don't remember what year
Wait,
she died.
didn't she die in like 2016?
I'm pretty sure he's dead.
Oh my
I don't
god.
know. Hold on. Maybe I can I have a picture on my phone. Let me see if I can find it.
So while she's doing that, I just want to say a little bit of what I've been up to lately because, you know, the podcast took a longer break than expected. We were gone for about 6 months, which is like half a whole year. And we're
Yeah.
actually coming up to the 1 year, like the 1 year mark that Tale of Two Dead Girls was started. Um, which is pretty exciting for me, even though we didn't like continue the full year, but it's still something memorable. But anyways, so I recently started up my Etsy business as well. Even though, well, not really recently, but recently I just got like more into it. So I make wall hangings, but I've been making them for like 4 or 5 years or maybe 6 years. But I do like I like weave wall hangings and stuff, and also I make like pin displays, like enamel pin displays and pin boards. I like the whole like gothic Victorian type of style, so that's kind of what they look like. And then I'm also going to be making earrings as well, but not the way Makaela does because I don't know how to do that and I don't know how to draw. So mine are going to be super like basic and whatever, but cute. So yeah, check that out. That's by Kayla Christine with Etsy.com. Just a little plug. But yeah, also with Tale of Dead Girls, we are going to start putting these episodes on YouTube, like the audio. So just in case anybody wants to use YouTube to listen, you can definitely do that. So should we start?
Yeah. Well, really quick to go back to that. She died in 1958, so
Oh, 2016. What the fuck is wrong with me?
yeah, that was I was like I'm pretty sure she died a really long time ago, but
Oh my
anyways.
god, the 50s. That's crazy.
Maybe I can find more stuff and we could do like a mini episode on it or
That
something.
would be
I'm not sure.
so sick. Also, speaking of our morbid minis, we need your stories. We still have a few stories that we can tell in a next morbid mini, but we do really want your guys' stories. So if you have
Yes.
any sort of like haunted experience, any place that you went with your friends and I don't know, did a seance or something, tell us your story. If you have any crazy hometown like murder stories, or you know someone who was a murderer or something and you're okay with sharing it, definitely send us an email. Let us know. Tell us your stories because we want to share them.
Yes, we want to hear your scary stories. If you've seen an alien, please tell us immediately.
Yes. Also, sleep paralysis. If you're still having sleep paralysis, or if there's anybody else that has had it since our last little series, I guess, on sleep paralysis, definitely send them in. We'll continue the sleep paralysis episodes, and you can send those to taleoftwodeadgirls@gmail.com. So, I guess we'll get into our stories. I'm so
I'm so
excited.
excited.
Yeah.
Oh, Jinx, you owe
Jinx.
me soda.
Wait. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, oh God, if you guys have no idea how happy I am to be here and like be recording and continuing this, this podcast literally like means the world to me, and I'm just so fucking excited and happy. So thank you everybody for sticking with us and being patient and waiting. We are back and we're not going anywhere. Also, before I start, I do want to just let you guys know that our episodes are going to be changing. Now we are going to put out regular story episodes once every 2 weeks, just for the time being. And then depending on how things go, we'll maybe go back to doing it once a week. And then we'll just kind of throw in listener stories when we get emails and stuff like that. So yeah, I just want to let you guys know. All right, well, I'm gonna share my spooky story. So what I'm sharing, it's this story or film or whatever. It is considered to be one of the most cursed films of all time. So this one is the Poltergeist, and it was produced by Steven Spielberg. So the majority of you guys listening, you probably already have seen this movie or heard about it or just know what it's about, or maybe even seen Scary Movie 2 and seen all the little, parody parts that they did of this movie.
Dude.
Yeah.
I used to get legitimately scared when I was a child and I would watch those movies. Like, I'd be laughing and then I would be genuinely scared.
They were scary though, because we were children when they came out.
Yeah.
So like, even though it was meant to be scary or meant to be funny, like it was still really fucking scary. So, Poltergeist is the first of a trilogy. It's an American horror film and it was released in 1982. So, if you want to watch it and see what it's about, it's on YouTube to rent for $3.99. I don't think I found it anywhere for free. It said it was on Prime, but like it wasn't. Okay, so in the trilogy, there's Poltergeist, there's Poltergeist 2, The Other Side, which was released in 1986, and then there's Poltergeist 3 that was released 2 years later in 1988. There was a remake or something like that back in, I think, 2015, but I didn't watch that, so I don't know like if it's supposed to be like a remake or just like a whole different movie, but
That's
like
funny.
called
I'm the
Poltergeist.
opposite. I haven't seen the first real one or like the first one, but I've seen the
Mhm.
remake.
Oh, how's the remake?
Well, since I haven't seen the first one, I guess I can't really say if it was like the same or different, but I really liked it. Like, it was scary to me. Like, I
Ooh,
thought it was really good.
that's on Netflix, isn't it? Or Hulu or something?
I think we bought it, so I'm
Oh,
not sure. Yeah, we
okay.
collect movies, so we have like a shit ton.
Oh, sweet. Okay, cool. I'll have to check that out. But yeah, so let's go ahead and dive into why it's assumed that there's a poltergeist curse. There's a lot of shit that kind of happened after the films and I think also during the films. So there was several cast members who died and there was also things that happened during like the sets and stuff. So the first thing I'd like to point out is that the skeletons that they used in the muddy pool scene, those were real skeletons. They were like real fucking dead people's bones. I think,
Dude, that's crazy.
yeah,
I did not. I was like wondering if that was real or not.
yeah, those are real. Those are real skeletons, and apparently back in that day, like those days, like creating fake skeletons either were too expensive or they just nobody did that yet. So that's why they used like real bones, and I think they were donated from or they bought them from like a science school or something like that. Um, so the mechanical clown that was used in the film malfunctioned and practically strangled Oliver Robbins, who played Robbie Freeling, the youngest son in the film. He was almost killed by this clown. Like, it literally almost strangled him to death. The equipment used to tie the clown's arms around Robbie's neck was attached to the clown, and it became too tight and was on for too long. And so he was like sitting there choking, and he was like shouting that he couldn't breathe.
He's
But
like actually dying, but
yeah,
they're
like
like, yes, this is great acting.
exactly. So the director Hooper, he assumed that Oliver was just, really good at what he was doing, like acting.
Yeah.
And then luckily, Steven Spielberg came to the fucking rescue and noticed that he wasn't actually in danger. And he jumped in, or jumped him. He jumped in and he, got him out of the clown's arms or whatever. But that happened on set. So also Jo Beth Williams, who played Diane Freeling, she was renting an apartment while working on that film, and whenever she would get back to her apartment after shooting, she'd find that a picture on her wall would often have been moved around. And I think it was just like
No.
one particular picture, but then I also read that other things like were moved around too. So it was really weird, but she started to think that someone was trying to send her like a message saying that she shouldn't be doing the film, but she continued to do it anyway, because we all out here trying to make that coin and working on
Yeah, I was gonna say because money.
working on a film is hella good money. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, so that was like a second kind of weird thing. And then also James Caan was, or Can, whatever the fuck his last name is, sorry James, was tasked with writing the novelization of the movie, and while he was finishing it up, a lightning bolt struck the building he was working in. And he said that the facing on the air conditioner unit blew off and flew across the room and hit him in the back. And then
Oh.
after about a minute, the lights flickered and turned on, and then all of the video games in the room started playing by themselves. So in 1992, Richard Lawson, who played Ryan in Poltergeist, survived a motherfucking plane crash.
Oh.
Yeah. It was out of LaGuardia. It killed 27 of the 51 people on board, but he did survive. And he survived because of the seating arrangement. He was
Oh, this
sitting.
is some Final Destination shit.
Yeah, so like he was sitting in a seat. So he was seated somewhere, but then he ended up switching or moving somewhere else. And
Dude.
he would have died if he stayed in that seat, because the person that got his seat ended up dying. So
That's legitimately Final Destination shit. Like, that's so scary.
it's so scary. I haven't seen Final Destination in like years, so those are too scary for me.
Oh my god.
Okay, so now I'm gonna get into some like harsher stuff. This one is trigger warning, domestic abuse. So yeah. Um, this little bit is about Dominic. I think her last name is Dunn or Dune. She played the big sister, Dana Freeling, or Dominique. I'm so sorry if I got the name wrong. So she played Dana in the first film, and this was actually also her first feature film. She was 22 years old when she died. So yes, she did die. 5 months after the release of Poltergeist, she was strangled to death by her ex-boyfriend.
Oh my
He
god.
Yeah, he choked her into a coma and then died 4 days later. So the story with this is that she and John Thomas Sweenley started dating in 1981. He was a chef at a restaurant called Ma Mason in LA. I've never heard of it. I don't even know if it's still a thing, but apparently it was like a bougie kind of restaurant. They met at a party, and a few weeks later, they ended up moving in together. I mean, well, they started dating and then they moved in together. And then they moved to a one-bedroom house on Rangley Avenue in West Hollywood. So, within weeks of them moving in together, things started to change in their relationship. They started to fight often, and he began physically abusing her. It's said that he yanked handfuls of her hair out by the roots during a fight on August 27th, 1982. She left to her mom's house, where John ended up following her to and banged on the door and the windows, telling them to let him in. Her mom told him to leave and threatened to call the police. A few days later, after letting everything cool down, she went back to her house with him and continued the relationship.
People can be very shitty to you and you'll still love them,
Remember, you guys, if they hit you, they don't love you.
Yes, and if you need help, you can always reach out to one of us. We will be there for you if you need anybody to talk to, or if you're in a bad situation, if you're scared.
Exactly.
Feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah, so our email is open to anybody. It's not just if you have spooky stories. If you ever want to say anything to us, please do it. And if you need help, anything, DM us, email us, we're here. So a little less than a month later, on September 26th, they got into another really bad argument. John grabbed her by the throat and he threw her on the floor and started strangling her. And I think this was the first time he actually tried to strangle her. And then one of her friends was staying with them in the house, or I think she was living with them, and then she said that she heard loud gagging sounds, and so she ran into the room and saw Dominique being attacked. So she told her friend that he tried to kill her, but of course John denied it. Later that night, she snuck out of the bathroom window, and then when John heard the car starting, he ran out and jumped on the hood of it. So because he didn't want her to leave, and then she stopped the car long enough for him to get off of the hood, and then she drove away as fast as she could.
Just, this guy's a nutcase.
An actual nutcase. After a few days of staying with her, with her mom again, she called John to end the relationship. He moved out of their house that they had together, and then she moved back in, and then she immediately changed all the locks. Go you. That's the smart thing to do. So about another month later, on the night of October 30th, 1982, which was weeks after she broke up with him, she had a friend by the name of David Packer over at her place to rehearse for a miniseries that they were doing together. And John showed up at the home and tried to get her to take him back. He was standing there in front of the door, but the door was closed and they were talking through the door. And he didn't get what he wanted, so they started arguing, which led her to actually get out of the house to talk to him, I guess. And then he started to strangle her, and it's believed that he was strangling her for 4 to 6 minutes. So
did he do this while the other person was there? Or?
Yeah, okay, so David was in the house, and so he stayed inside, and I think he went to another room because he knew what kind of...
He's like, oh, I'm just gonna let them go talk.
Yeah, he knew, he knows of him, and so there was nothing going on between David and her. They were just friends rehearsing, and so, but he was scared of this guy because he heard the way he was talking to her.
I'd be scared of him too.
Yeah, he knew that he would hurt her, so he kind of just stayed in the house, tried to mind his own business. So after the 4 to 6 minutes of him strangling her, she was left unconscious, and David was actually so scared because he heard everything, and so he tried to go through the back entrance to go home. He was just going to try to get out of there, or maybe call for help or something, I don't know. But when he got closer to the driveway, he saw John in the bushes kneeling over Dominique. So John told David to call the police. So he just killed or almost killed her and is telling David to call the police. So he did, and when they got there, John put his hands up and said, I killed my girlfriend and I tried to kill myself, which he didn't actually try to kill himself.
Yeah, like what, with a bush?
So she was taken to the hospital and put on life support because her heart had stopped. She never regained consciousness, and over the next few days, she still had no brain activity. She was taken off life support on November 4th, which was less than 3 weeks before her 23rd birthday.
Oh, that's
And
so sad.
it is so sad. Like, I don't know why, for some reason, like when people die closer to their birthdays, it just makes things like a lot more emotional for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But a year later, on November 7th, 1983, John Sweeney was convicted of voluntary manslaughter and was supposed to serve 6.5 years. Um, which, by the way, 6.5 years is not fucking okay. That's not
Dude,
enough.
it's that is bullshit that he even got voluntary manslaughter. Like that should have been like second-degree murder.
So he, but wait till you hear this.
Okay.
So he got 6.5 years, but he only served 3 years and 8 months.
Oh, that's so fucking horrible.
He only fucking served 3 years and 8 months. Like, what the fuck? How are you gonna serve 3 years and 8 months for killing somebody? It just doesn't make sense. But 3 months after getting out, he got hired as a chef at the Chronicle, which is supposed to be another bougie restaurant in LA. And John ended up moving somewhere in the Pacific Northwest and changed his name to John Mara, since her dad was on pursuit of justice, and he ended up handing out flyers to people at the Chronicle restaurant saying, quote, "The food you will eat tonight was cooked by the hands that killed Dominique Dunn." Or Dune. God, I wish I'd fucking looked up her name. I'm so sorry I didn't look up her name or how to pronounce it.
It's
But
okay. That's good. Good for her father.
yeah, he's on the hunt for this fucking man. Oh well, he was on the hunt, but I think her dad died.
Oh.
Yeah, but so before I finish like the story with her, I wanted to mention that John had a girlfriend before her that he also abused, and I feel like I should just talk about her because she deserves to be known as well, like because she was a victim
Yeah.
of it. So her name is Lillian Pierce, and they dated on and off from 1977 to 1980. John beat her multiple times, and she was hospitalized twice for it. Lillian sustained a perforated eardrum and a collapsed lung, as well as a broken nose. I think she's still alive, though. Yeah, so she's alive, I think.
I'm
I
just
didn't.
saying, if I had the chance to hit him with my car, I would.
Same. Okay, so I have a couple more incidents and then I'm done. So the next one is Julian Beck, played the evil spirit known as Kane in Poltergeist 2. He died at the age of 60 from stomach cancer on September 14th, 1985. He passed 7 months before the film was released. So I think they had already finished filming and then he passed away. But although this wasn't too unexpected, since he was battling cancer for about 18 months. So yeah, people are kind of like on the fence with that. Like, is that really part of the curse or is it just because he had cancer? I don't know. But
I feel like he still gets, he's
yeah,
still part of the cast that died, so I'm
right.
glad you threw him in there.
Yeah. So another one, Will Sampson, played the good spirit Taylor in Poltergeist 2, died on June 3rd, 1987, about a year after the film's release. He was 53 years old. He got a heart lung transplant 6 weeks earlier, and the cause of his death was ascribed to severe preoperative malnutrition and post-operative kidney failure and fungus infection. So he had a lot of shit going on. But
Yeah, that's horrible.
apparently he knew that his chance of surviving was slim due to his weakened condition before his surgery. So that's kind of really sad. But yeah. So this one here is one of the most famous ones that people have heard of. Heather O. Fuck. I failed you guys this time. I did not look up these names. Heather O'Rourke. Heather. I'm just gonna go by her name, okay?
Is it like Orouke?
Yeah.
I think it's O'Rourke. Like
O'Rourke?
O'Rourke.
Wait, but there's no R.
Okay. I thought it was
Oh,
like O-R.
there is O'Rouke. O'Rourke?
Yeah. So like
O'Rourke?
O'Rourke.
O'Rourke? Okay.
O'Rourke?
We're gonna call
I
her
don't
Heather.
know.
Heather. So, anyways, she was the child actress. She played Carol Ann Freeling throughout the Poltergeist series. She passed away unexpectedly at the age of 12, shortly after the third film was done filming, or in the middle of it. I read two different time frames, so I'm not too sure. But yeah, she's best known for the "They're Here." So yeah. Um, on January 31st, 1988, she got flu-like symptoms that were severe enough for them to take her to the hospital. On February 1st, at the Children's Hospital in Encinitas, California, which is like the San Diego area, I think, she died of septic shock due to congenital stenosis of the bowel, which means she died of shock caused by infection in the blood. They said this was caused by a birth defect that made a section of her intestine abnormally narrow. The year before her death, she was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, which is a lifelong inflammatory small bowel disease. Gastrointestinal doctors said that her death was, quote, distinctly unusual since she lacked prior symptoms of the bowel defect that reportedly killed her. They also said that they would have expected a lot of digestive difficulties throughout her life and not just have developed a problem all of a sudden. And Heather's manager said that she didn't suffer chronic digestive problems and the bowel narrowing wasn't discovered until she had surgery on that day that she got sick. She underwent emergency surgery to repair an acute bowel obstruction and died on the operating table after suffering cardiac arrest. They think that Heather's bowel narrowing might have not been congenital, but could have developed suddenly due to inflammation. Her manager said that a section of her intestine burst after ballooning to 4 inches.
Oh my goodness. She was probably in like so much pain before. Like it seems weird that it just like happened.
Exactly, because that's what I was going to say. The doctors that worked with her really found that the case was so fucking weird and just strange because everything didn't make sense to them. One minute she
Yeah.
seemed to be fine and healthy, and then the next she had a severe flu-like symptoms, and then before you know it, bam, she's dead. And it was just
Yeah, and
so unexpected and crazy.
she's like still like a kid enough to where like if they're in pain, like they're going to let you know.
Exactly.
Like if she
Yeah.
was like, I don't know, like 18 or something, like she might have not made it too known to people, but she was still like a little kid.
Yeah, exactly. So that poor little girl. That was also her first feature film too, I think.
Yeah.
So okay, so I do have like one kind of last thing. So we have Lou Perryman, who had a bit part in the Poltergeist. He played Pugsley, a construction worker. So this one was like over 20 years later, but I thought it was still important to mention because he was a part of the film. So in 2009, he was at home in Austin, Texas, when someone by the name of Seth Tatum knocked on his door. They talked for a bit before going inside the house together, and then Seth ended up leaving the house. So when police searched the home, they found Lou dead and his body was hacked apart with an axe. He was 67. Seth had some sort of psychotic fugue and left his house and then wandered for 3 miles before getting to Lou's house. Or Lou seemed to have been chosen at random. Like it wasn't planned, I guess. So, because like out of
Yeah.
all the doors that this guy has passed, he chose Lou's. Like coincidence or part of the Poltergeist curse? I don't know. But also, a fun fact is that the Freelings' home, like family home from the films, is a real house that still exists, and it's in Simi Valley, California. So if you're in the area, I guess you can drive by it or something and check it out. And that, I'm pretty sure you can find that like online, like the address. But also, one last thing before I end my story, I did want to mention that Drew Barrymore auditioned for the role of Carol Ann, but Steven Spielberg thought she would be a better fit for a different film he was working on at the same time, which was E.T. So he casted her as Gertie for that film instead. So I thought, like, oh my god, like, what if Drew Barrymore got casted as Carol Ann? Like, what if she had some crazy shit
Yeah,
happen and she would have been dead? Like, Drew Barrymore?
like she got lucky.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's it. That's the Poltergeist curse.
That's insane. That was really fun for me because I had no idea about anything. So it was like I was listening to the podcast. Okay, so learning about Poltergeist, that was amazing. I'm so excited to do my story. So my thought process behind this was that I wanted to have my first episode be something local to me, something in Utah. Um, when people think of Utah, they're like, oh, skiing and Mormons, and like that one time that the Olympics were here. um, anyways, I wanted to do something crazy that I learned about. So, um, this is going to be the Rebecca David murder suicide. So, just a trigger warning. This does involve children dying and also suicide. So, unfortunately, if you are unable to listen to those things, you'll have to catch me at my next episode. But I wanted to let you guys know just in case. So, this starts off August 3rd in 1978. 7 children and their mother jumped or were thrown from the 11th floor balcony of the International Dunes Hotel in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Fuck.
So, yeah, this was after her husband had committed suicide. His name is Emmanuel David, and he borrowed a van from a moving company that he was friends with. Well, the owner. He went to a place in Utah, it's called Immigration Canyon, and he basically had duct taped a hose to the exhaust and put it in the window and sealed everything
Oh my
off. And
god.
yeah, he died from carbon monoxide poisoning.
Wow.
So what I wanted to start off with was kind of just introducing the father, because he um he was like the main guy. Like he controlled the family basically. So
Mm-hmm.
they truly, his family, like his children and his wife, truly felt like he was God. Um they felt like he was the like one true prophet. So Emmanuel
Wait,
David,
like, actually?
yeah. So basically, his family, like he had like convinced them that he was God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Ghost, like all in one person.
Wow.
So
That's crazy.
yeah. So Emmanuel David, he was originally born as Charles Bruce Longo. He also went by Bruce David Longo or David Bruce Longo. Um, he grew up in Yonkers, New York, and he graduated high school in 1956, and he joined the Marine Corps after high school. When he was in the Marines, that's where he became acquainted with the LDS Mormon religion. Um, I don't know too much about Mormon religion, so I don't want to get too into it, but he learned about it through like missionaries and things in the military. It's believed that he converted to Mormonism in 1958, and he moved to Utah in 1961. He started going to Brigham Young University, which is BYU for short. They're known for like football and things like that. They're a pretty known university. Um,
Okay.
so over the years, he began to have visions that he was God. He started like writing to the Mormon church leaders and the Mormon president, telling them that he was the one true God, that he was Jesus Christ and the Holy Ghost all in one person. He also started demanding that all of the church tithings be given to him, which is like money that the church gets from like
Yeah.
the people that go to church.
Yeah.
So soon after he started having like these visions and started believing that he was God, he changed his name to Emmanuel David. It's kind of a wormhole if you search this guy because there's not a lot of information, but it does go into like his beliefs and why he changed his last name to David, and it's something to do with like the Star of David, and they believed
Yeah, I
that,
thought so.
yeah, they like believed that Jewish people weren't the original people for the Star of David. I didn't want to get too into it because I'm not well versed on religion and I did not want to offend anyone or get anything
Right.
wrong. So
Yeah,
yeah.
totally.
So, anyways, he changed his name to Emmanuel David from Charles Bruce Longo. So the LDS church records are sealed, but LDS officials confirmed that he was excommunicated from the church in 1969.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so that basically means they were like, yo, like, you're fucking crazy. You can't be a Mormon anymore. So
Kicked him out of the
like
club.
that's what the excommunication paperwork says, like, you're fucking crazy. Bye. No, just kidding.
Wow. See ya.
So he did have a small cult following. There's not a lot of information about them, but the only things that I could find were that everyone in the cult changed their last name to David, and there were a few different states involved, and the states that were mentioned were Utah, Colorado, Kentucky, and Washington. So it's believed that there may have been like 20 to 30 members, so it was like mostly his immediate family and friends, but they weren't like a threatening cult or anything. Like they weren't prominent enough to be like well known.
Mm-hmm.
So the wife of Emmanuel David, her name is Rachel David, and she was 38. She was born as Margaret Birgitta Erickson. There's like even less known about her than Emmanuel. But it does mention that she
Mm-hmm.
was from Sweden, and it's believed that she left Sweden around 1959 and she moved to Inglewood, California. She worked there for a while and she tried to earn money for a tuition to go to BYU as well. She did begin school at BYU in 1961 and she actually just dropped out after one semester.
Wow. All that
So,
hard work.
yeah. Like she moved from Sweden to go to BYU. Yeah. So, but she ended up meeting Emmanuel there and she just became like completely enamored with him. Like she was completely devoted and she like 100% believed that he was God, and she changed her name as well, to Rachel David, who she's known as now. So the couple had 7 children. This is kind of where it gets a little bit difficult. So
Okay.
it's believed that the children's names, so this is the thing. I'm going to get into it, but the names and the ages, there's a possibility that they're not accurate because there was multiple different, so like every source that I found had like a different spelling of the name and a different age. So
Interesting.
but this is what I found like the most. So the children's names were Rachel, 14, Elizabeth, and she was 13, Joshua, who was 10, Deborah, who was 9, Joseph, who was 8, David, who was 6, whose name was David, um, and Rebecca, who was 5. So the David family had been living at the International Dunes Hotel in a suite that had 3 bedrooms. They were living in this hotel for over a year. Before that, they lived at
Wow.
Ramada and one other hotel. So they were just like living in a hotel. At the time in the 1970s, 1978, it was $90 a day. So that would be like $360 today.
Fuck.
Yeah. So
That's a lot.
yeah. So the front desk clerk who was interviewed at the time, he told news reporters that the family paid in cash every day, usually with a $100 bill. He said that the family also dressed in expensive clothing and they had food catered to them from a local French restaurant. I think it was like twice a week, which their bill was like $150.
Wow.
Yeah. So the front desk clerk and the hotel manager at the time stated that Emmanuel and Rachel were kind people and that they seemed normal. But one thing that was off was that the children never spoke without their father's permission. Um, the children never used the pool. They never even left their suite without their parents. It's actually reported that the children only left the suite about twice a month. So,
Oh my god.
yeah. And like the maids, they were never allowed to come in contact with the children. So, like, there was 3 bedrooms. So they would just move all of the children to a different room as the maid cleaned. So,
That's so weird.
yeah, and then the children were also homeschooled by Emmanuel and Rachel. A lot of reports said that, like, they interviewed like the school district, and they said that the children were actually very intelligent, so they didn't see anything wrong. And I guess the school district was also never made aware that they were just living in a hotel. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, so at the time of their death, police had like an extremely hard time identifying the children because of how secluded from everyone they were. Almost every source for this case has the names and ages different, as I mentioned before. And the thing is that like when they were trying to identify the bodies, like they went into the room and they searched through all of their belongings and they found like an address book and it had Emmanuel's brother and his phone number, and they contacted him and he hadn't heard from the family in 10 years. So he
Fuck.
didn't even know about the existence of some of the children. So
Yeah.
like their family was like unable to really help in identifying their bodies and stuff.
That's
um
insane.
yeah, so I can't remember where his brother and his mom were living, but they flew down to help try and identify the bodies and like do the funeral and everything. The case is classified as 6 murders and 1 suicide. It's also classified as a murder suicide because the onlookers that saw this event said that the 3 older children seemed to willingly jump off the balcony. But the police say that, you know, they consider it a 6 murder and 1 suicide because whether the older children were forced off physically or emotionally, like that's still insane. Like they were led to believe that they needed to do this.
Oh
Um
my god.
yeah,
That's so
so
sad.
yeah, so this is where it gets kind of bad. So, you know, trigger warning again. So there were about 50 onlookers. They were mostly construction workers and like people just on their morning commute. I think this happened at like 8 o'clock in the morning or like 7:30 in the morning. So onlookers saw the younger children screaming and fighting. They were hanging onto the bars, like to the railing, and their mother like forced them off. She just basically took the younger ones and like threw them over the balcony.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So in the reports, it
What the
does.
fuck?
Yeah. So in the reports, it does say that the onlookers were yelling, like, stop, no, and like screaming at her to stop. But after all of the children were thrown off and Rachel stood on top of the balcony, she took about 5 seconds and just stood up there. And it's reported that the onlookers were yelling, like, jump, you bitch, jump off. Like, they wanted her to like end her life after just seeing her throw like 7 of her children off a
Yeah.
balcony. So,
Fuck.
yeah. So it's like, it was like 100 feet. Um, some of the children landed on the sidewalk. One of them actually had landed on the sidewalk and rolled into a gutter. And then all of the other children landed on the roof of the first floor and like into this canopy part.
Wait, so they didn't die? Wait, they
No, yeah,
all died?
so when police arrived, the oldest daughter, Rachel, and 2 other children were still alive. It is unclear which of the 2 children were alive because, again, it was, you know, very difficult to identify the family.
Right.
Like at first, when they had Rachel, the oldest daughter, they thought she was actually the mother. And then they also thought she was Elizabeth. And then they finally realized that she was Rachel because of his brother had actually known her because she was older, so they had met her. But yeah, so the other 2 children, it's very unclear. Like some people say it was Elizabeth and David, some people say it was Rebecca and David. But either way, like They were all three taken to separate hospitals, and the other two children died. But Rachel did survive. So Rachel, again, she was the oldest daughter, and her legs were practically destroyed. Like they were both of them were severely broken. She suffered like really extreme head, pelvic, and abdominal and shoulder injuries. It took 15 surgeons to operate on her, and she was given around 50 pints of blood.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot, right?
That's a
I don't
lot.
even know.
Yeah, it's a lot. They
How
were
big
like
is a pint?
I don't know. I know it's a lot. They were in the newspaper articles that I found, they were like asking the public to donate blood because they needed more. So I know that it was a lot.
Damn, poor girl.
Yeah, her spleen was also removed and her colon had to be rerouted. So she spent months in the hospital, and once she recovered, it says that she was placed with a foster family, but it also, so there's like different sources for this. Like there's a few different newspaper articles that I found that were archived from that time. And some of them say that she was put into foster care. Others say that she lived with her uncle Leonard Erickson. But there was only one article that I was able to find about Rachel since the incident, and it's dated April 10th, 1993. She was reportedly tracked down by Inside Edition correspondent Dan Noyes. And again, he reported that she was confined to a wheelchair and that she was living with her uncle Leonard Erickson. Their location was not confirmed or released, but there are some sources that state that she was in Idaho. But Rachel was quoted as saying, "I remember my father said he will be back, and I know he will. My father never lied." So she still wholeheartedly believed at the time of this article that her father was God and that he will return to Earth.
Like the second coming of Christ or whatever it is.
She totally believed that he was the one true God. Like, she's reported to have tried to commit suicide several times since the incident to follow the family's suicide order.
Oh my God, this poor girl, she's brainwashed.
Yeah. So basically, the mother, Rachel, she felt like she had nowhere to go. It's believed that Emmanuel David was being closed in on by the FBI because he had all this money, like he was affording these hotels and they were buying nice clothes. He was like 6'3" and 300 pounds, and his clothes, like he would buy custom suits that were like $300 a section. So the FBI was looking in on him to see how he was getting this money, and it turns out that his cult following, there's only 2 of them that are named, but they were committing like wire fraud. They were like calling.
What's that?
So they were like calling people and telling them that they had a sick daughter who was like in the hospital and needed multiple surgeries, and people would send them money.
Of course.
Yeah, and they were committing like fraudulent like telemarketing schemes to get people to pay. Yeah.
Damn.
So it's not, he didn't leave a note or anything, and it's totally unclear of like why he really committed suicide, but it is believed that it's because the FBI was like getting close to cracking him. And his brother even said that he knows that his brother would not have wanted to go to jail. Like he would not have wanted to face that, so he just wanted to die like with his dignity or whatever. So
that's some shit.
Yeah. So after he committed suicide, they told his wife Rachel, and the reports say that she seemed calm and that she said she wasn't surprised, but 2 days later she did this. So it's just believed that she didn't have the means to keep taking care of their family. Like she didn't have the money. He was in control of the money, everything. And it's also believed that they wanted to follow him into the next life. So this story is crazy because I could not find a source, and then I kept digging and digging, and I found the archived newspapers. So I'll include like all of those links and everything for you guys, and I'll include like pictures.
Yes.
We can post like pictures.
Yeah.
So the family was buried all together in one grave. So
Oh my god,
Yeah,
what?
so
What do you
all
mean in one grave?
so
Like they're stacked on top of each other?
no. So I have a picture of it
Oh.
that I found in the newspaper. It's
Oh
just
my
like
god.
one long grave, and they just have like the coffins just side by side.
Oh, I'm like, there's one coffin and they're all like dumped and laying on
No.
each other.
No.
Oh my
The picture
god.
was so chilling when I saw it. I was like, "Oh my god." So,
Ew.
we'll definitely include that. But yeah, so they wanted them to be buried together because they only knew each other. I mean, they only had each other. These children did not know anyone else outside of their family, really. Like, it is said that he took his sons to like certain stores and stuff and like introduced them to people, but only like very rarely, like a few times. So these children were very
Mhm.
secluded, and I believe that they just believed in their father, and they were still really young. They were very impressionable, but the older children seemed to believe more than younger children because the younger children put up a fight when they were getting thrown off the balconies. um,
Right.
yeah, so this is kind of where we lead into like a paranormal side of things. um,
Oh my god, yes.
so the hotel is located at 206 Southwest Temple in Salt Lake City. The hotel was built in the 1970s, and one of its distinct features was the external glass elevator that carried guests along 12 floors. It offered a beautiful view of downtown Salt Lake City and the mountains surrounding the city. So, if you've never been to Salt Lake City, there are mountains all around the city. So, it's different.
Oh, I can't wait to
Yeah.
go.
So it's different from other cities when you go to like a big city and you look around and there's just city. In Salt Lake, it's like mountains all around the city. So it's really beautiful.
Oh,
The hotel was renamed, and well, it has been renamed and renovated several times since the incident. And I couldn't actually find a timeline for that. But after it was the International Dunes Hotel, it became the Shiloh Inn, and the Shiloh Inn is the most common name when you look at like haunted places in Salt Lake City or haunted Utah, things like that.
wow.
Um, During this phase, there were neon lights that were red that ran up and down the building, and it gave it like a Las Vegas feel. I can include pictures of that as well of it all lit up. It's like really creepy, honestly, that it was red. The fact that this hotel even like stayed open after this incident just kind of like blows my mind. But
Crazy.
yeah, because it's one of the biggest, like, if not the biggest mass suicide in Utah. But in 2014, the Burgess Investment Group bought the Shiloh Inn, and now the hotel is a Holiday Inn Express. So
Mhm.
they have like completely renovated it. It's got a whole new look. There's 200 rooms and like conference rooms and a lobby, and it just, if you've ever been to a Holiday Inn Express, it looks exactly like them. um
Mhm.
so there are several different reports of paranormal activity at the Shiloh Inn.
Mhm.
I tried to see if there was anything that I could find that was recent, but I haven't been able to find a lot. The most
You know what that means?
No.
We gotta go.
I know.
We gotta go stay there.
Dude, I was hoping you would not ask me to do that because I'm
Oh
such
my
a wuss.
god.
Like,
Well, I
I would
probably
do
would
it,
be
but I
too.
wouldn't sleep. I would stay up literally all night.
I mean, we can go and like check it out and like hang out, but like
Yeah,
we don't have to stay there.
right? So let's see. The most common reports were entities of a woman and a little girl. There have been reports of disembodied, echoing laughter from an unseen female in the pool area.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah. So near one of the exits, there used to be a pinball machine, and it was reported as playing or being on and active while no one else was around. So the pinball machine would constantly be going off. It would be played with nobody else around. Um,
Spooky.
in one article I read, it said that they had interviewed the maintenance staff. They said that the tools would constantly move around by themselves, light bulbs would unscrew themselves, even though nobody has access to this floor, which is the 12th floor. And maintenance actually stated that they feel like the entities are friendly presences. They don't feel threatened by them. They just feel,
Okay.
they like laugh and they play tricks on them, but they don't feel like scared, I guess you could
That's
say.
good.
They don't feel threatened. Yeah. But yeah, there's a YouTube video that has interviews from a news posting, um, like a news broadcast, and I can definitely link that to you guys. There was a lot of good information. It's pretty crazy because like I have known about the Shiloh Inn being haunted, but I never actually knew the story. So I felt like this was a great episode to start off my podcast adventure.
Yes.
But yeah, that's all I have. It's pretty crazy. There's
Wow.
no pictures of the children anywhere
Really?
online. Yeah.
Oh, well, that makes sense because if nobody knew about these kids,
Yeah, pretty much.
like it makes sense. That's so crazy. That's so crazy.
Yeah. When it came down to like trying to identify who the children were, it was basically two of the cult, like he had two friends, two, I guess you would say two followers. He used them as his bodyguard. He was very cocky. Emmanuel thought that he was like hot shit because he would take like bodyguards everywhere with him. Like,
Wow.
yeah, and he had like a sword that was made. Honestly, you guys, like if you want to get into this crazy rabbit hole, just like do a Google search of Charles Longo, because like there's so many things that he believed that were so crazy. Like he believed that like a dragon was going to come and like destroy Earth, and he believed that like he could destroy California just by concentrating on it hard enough. Like
Oh,
there's a
wow.
lot of crazy shit that I really didn't feel like I wanted to get into. But yeah, he like had this sword that was made, and he said that like if anyone else touched it they would die and things like that. He had these two but anyways, he had these two bodyguards, and they helped identify the children because they were really the only two people other than Emmanuel and Rachel that knew the children. um so, but there's the names, that the way that they were spelled was so weird. Like I'll just have to include it because it would be too long to spell it all out. But the way that they
Right.
spelled their family's name was just so weird.
Wow. Oh my god, I have the hiccups. Fuck. Well, damn. That was a good way to start off, your first episode. Oh my god. These hiccups. Sorry everybody for my hiccups. Oh my god. Anyways, thank you for that. That was great. Oh my god. I find it so interesting like hearing about hometown stuff. Like it's just so much more, I don't know, like intimate, I guess, like
Yeah,
personal.
it's
It's so crazy.
it's definitely crazy because I've like driven past this hotel like so many times. Like I know exactly where it is. Like it's right in downtown Salt Lake City, basically. Like I
Wait, do you know what room they were in?
so there was one report of it, but I didn't put it in because I know that it was on the 11th floor, but there were so many different reports, like, and like the way that they used to do newspapers back in the day, oh my god. It was so hard to sort through the
Yeah.
articles because they would do like the day, like the first report of it was obviously like the front page, but then you have to go to like section A6 and then you have to go to section B7, like it just jumps around. There was one report of the room numbers, but I didn't throw it in because I didn't want to put it in there if it wasn't like 100% accurate, you know?
Right.
So,
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
yeah.
But so if you guys live in Salt Lake City or Utah, if you guys have any other stories that you know about within your hometown, email it to us. We'd love to share it. We'd love to read it, hear it. Also, I still have hiccups, so sorry if you hear it. And I'm not gonna fucking edit it out because whatever. But yeah, I guess that's it for our comeback episode.
Yes.
I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yes, please send us your stories and send us anything crazy that you want to tell us. If you have suggestions for episodes that you want to hear, like feel free to send those over to us, or cases,
Yes.
or anything like that.
also any feedback, like if there's anything you want us to do or change, or if we sound stupid and like, like give us some tips, help us out, we're still learning here because, I did take that 6 month break and kind of fresh. I feel like I'm like jumping back into this again, like without, I don't know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
but you guys hopefully understand what I'm trying to say.
And I've never done this before, so I would be totally open to feedback. My DMs are open.
Yeah,
And our email's always open.
for sure.
Yeah, so send us your stuff.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for sticking around. Oh God, I really, really appreciate it more than you guys know. It's incredible to me that, I've had people DM us and DM me and ask about the podcast and just like wonder, where we've been, what's going on, when we're getting back. So it just really means a lot to me that you guys care, and you're still listening. I check our analytics and there's still listens, and it just blows my mind. So here we are, here to stay. And yeah, I guess that's it for our episode 14. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll
We'll
meet
meet you
you
6 feet
6 feet
under.
under.